Hi, Biz, and welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. My name is Biz Velatini. I am a food blogger in the suburbs of Chicago. And it's a funny thing because everyone says when they come to Chicago, where should they go to eat? And I was like, I live like 50 miles from there. And since I don't work downtown anymore, it's like I used to know all the restaurants within like a 6 block radius of my office.
Oh, yeah.
So I always recommend those places. But I try to get down to the city at least once a month. But yeah, I'm closer to Wisconsin than Chicago.
You say, when people
What
ask
did
you
you
that,
say?
when people ask you, where should I go eat? And you say, come to my house.
Yeah, just come on over. Actually, I've had people want to come to my house for Party Pizza Friday.
Oh,
Oh,
Like,
I bet.
yeah, they're like, they're going to be in town, and I was like, oh, suggestions and places, and they're like, actually, we'd really love to come to your house and eat your pizza. And I was like, I'm not a restaurant, so I don't know how that's gonna work, but yeah. So, well, I always thought it would be fun if I built a studio kitchen in my backyard because I've got a pretty big, yeah, backyard, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
have like a Airbnb on the other side, and then people could come stay with me, and then we could cook, so like it would be like separate and stuff. But there's the subdivision I live in doesn't do Airbnbs. They don't, then it's
Yeah.
against the rules. And I was like, who's gonna know? Who's
Well,
gonna
that's
know?
what it's my uncle. He's just staying in my guest cottage.
Yeah,
And
it's fine.
he's my
Don't worry
cousin.
about it.
I want to say for anyone who doesn't know Biz that's listening, I feel like you're so much more than a food blogger.
Oh my God.
Oh, well,
He's
thanks.
also hilarious on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, thank
Yeah.
you. I try to keep it light.
And always so positive and just, I
Yes.
don't know, very
Yeah,
motivated.
and it's funny because a lot of people will not accuse me, but tell me that I'm not using my platform for things that are going on in the world. And I say, I'm never going to do that because I just want a space, however tiny my little space is for somebody to go to get away from everything that's going on in the world.
Mhm.
So what I do on my own time is different, and I am involved. I do, I read all the things, but I will never put it on my platform just because it's only going to be food, goofy stuff, thrift store hauls, tiny dogs when my daughter brings her dogs over, and keep it light and fun. And that's what I keep doing.
Don't forget about your fashion blogging, Biz.
Oh, fashion blogging, yes. Yeah, and recently I had one of my followers, she said I was cleaning out my closet and she's like, I told my daughter that I wanted to give my clothes to my friend Biz. I've never met her in real life or anything. And her daughter's like, who's Biz? And she's like, she's on Instagram. And she's like, why are you giving your clothes to some lady on Instagram? And she's like, I think she would like it because she likes free clothes or cheap clothes, whatever. And so I said, we met like halfway, and I get to the table. She was 77 years old. So sweet.
Oh, wow.
And she has the best taste in clothes, and it's stuff that I would never pick out for myself. So for the last couple weeks, I've just been wearing these outfits, and people are like, where did you get that? I was like, it's Susan. And then somebody's like, is Susan your stylist? I'm like, no. She's a follower. And then so as I've been tagging her every single time I put a piece of her clothing on, she texted me yesterday. She's like, I've got 4 more giant bags for you. I was like,
Oh,
you are
wow.
so sweet. So I will be getting some more clothes. So
Oh my God. Buying clothes from the thrift store or getting hand-me-downs are my favorite. It's just like free shopping. And
it
then if you don't
is.
like it, you're going through. If you don't like it, you don't feel guilty, right? You're just like,
Exactly.
I'll give that to Goodwill or I'll see if somebody else wants that or something. I love it. I
For
love it.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the thrill of the hunt too. So when my daughter and I go thrifting, she and I are very similar. So we know we're in it for the long haul. Sometimes we're like, okay, we're going to only spend 40 minutes here,
Yeah.
or is this going to be a 3 hour? You just never know.
Yeah.
But so I always tell people if they want to go thrifting with me, I was like, here's the deal. It's like we're going to be there for a little bit because we have to go down every aisle, and you have to touch all the things and everything. So
I have to touch everything because touching is what stops me first, usually. How does it
yeah.
feel on my fingers? Like, and then if it's like, ooh, I hate that fabric. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what I also do is on a Goodwill is where I go most of the time is they have different color tags are 50% off. So it's kind of like the thrill of the hunt because then I only look at that color tag so that I'm going down. I was like, purple tag. Nope. purple tag. Yes.
Oh, I've never thought about that. I need to do that because I
Yeah.
love that. I do that at the Habitat store. I'm like, what color is the wheel on? Yeah, I love
Yes.
that. So, one of the things I want to start by saying after you've introduced yourself, is the thing that brought, and Rose highlighted this a little bit, the thing that brought us closest to you, for me, first of all, is that I had done Weight Watchers. I was a lifetime member, and I'm not doing it right now, but I've done it on and off. I think we all have it.
As everyone does. Yes.
Right. And I was like wholeheartedly doing Weight Watchers. I think I lost like 35, 36 pounds. And I felt so good. And I was working out like crazy. This was right before the pandemic. I was at the Y doing like body pump and spinning and insanity and like all these fun, super fun things. And I was loving it. And I looked great. And I was following you. I was making your pizza crust. I got my sisters and my mom, everybody in my family uses your pizza crust. And I just love you because so you watch a food blogger. For me, when I would watch them, I'm like, God, oh my God, their kitchen's like costs more than my entire like 3 houses on my street. And I was like, she's so real. She has a basic kitchen, nothing fancy.
Oh,
And I said, but she does, and she doesn't like to waste food. So that was my big thing. Is like, it made me laugh so hard one time when you had leftover fries. I would have never brought home leftover fries. And you like cut them up and put them on pizza. And I was like, oh, smart, because it's like potatoes on pizza are good, right?
yes.
So I love that your positive aspects. And then when I was doing Weight Watchers and I would have those days where I was just like, I just can't do this today. And then you'd be on, this is when you used to do Team Turquoise.
Yes. Team turquoise. Yeah. Where everything is 0 points.
Because you have to have those days. And I very much understood you. And you've had struggles in your life and you show that, that doesn't make you depressed forever. That doesn't make you angry at the world forever. That makes
Mm.
you can still pick yourself up by your bootstraps, move forward, be happy. And then also with your Team Turquoise things, for me, that was like, it really emphasized to me, this is your journey. So yeah, if you don't want to lose a pound a week, 2 pounds a week, whatever, most people lose. Yeah, have your Team Turquoise day. Have your Team Turquoise weekend, whatever you want to do. But if you really want to lose, don't do Team Turquoise, but maybe one day a week or a half a day or whatever it is. But
Yes.
it really made me understand, it helped me to understand my body and what I can and can't do. And so it really helped me a lot. And your positivity and then the other thing that really connected you and Jen, your sister. You have a twin sister, Jen, and
Yeah.
she's also on Instagram and social media. And Rose tends to be the more quiet one and like stand back. But once you get her started, she's hysterical. You have to get her a drink or two. But Rose is like, I feel like I can channel Jen and you channel Biz. So we're like
Yes.
twins.
Exactly. I know. And it's funny because when people are like going through and sometimes people will be like on stories like behind. And one time this woman said, "Oh my gosh, Biz, I can't believe I did this." And so I fell off her feed for whatever reason. And then she saw my sister and she's like, "Oh my God, there's Biz again." She's like, "I'll just start following her again." And like, she just liked a bunch of her posts. So then my sister kept going into her feed, not me. But then she was like, gosh, she's like, why is Biz like so like subdued? Like, why
That's
is she,
exactly what it's like.
yeah, why is she wearing makeup? Like, why is she wearing jewelry? Like all these things. And she's like, I didn't even look at the name. She's like, but and then finally, then somehow I came across her feed. And then she's like, oh my God, she's like, Biz is back, And then she's like, oh wait, I was following the wrong person. I mean, she still followed my sister. But for like a month, she was just like so confused. She's like, what is happening? Like, what is, and see, and the difference between my sister and I too is she cares a lot what people think and I don't. And so I'm not everyone's cup of tea. So you like me or you don't. And I actually had this woman a couple weeks ago open a burner account. So she had 0 posts, 0 followers. And 0 posts, 0 followers, and only followed one person, which was me. And then left me the laundry list of things that she hated about me. My teeth were yellow. Who would want your life because you work 7 days a week and your daughter's overweight and like just all these things. It was horrible. And so I video replied her and I was like, if you don't like me, I said, you don't have to. I said, the fact that you opened up a separate Instagram account so that you're anonymous to me, speaks volumes about how your life is, that you have the time to do this. I said, but second of all, I said, just unfollow. That's all you have to do. And
Yeah.
then I just forgot about it. Then the next day, it was a more laundry list of everything that she hated about me. So then I saw the green light that she was on. So I was like, we're video chatting. So I went to video chat. Of course, she did not pick up. And so I said, oh, that's very interesting. I said that I gave you every opportunity to say that everything that you said typed on a computer to my face, and you weren't able to do that. I said, I don't know how to block people. I said, but if I did, you'd be the first person to know. My daughter did block her because I don't know how to do that.
I
But
was going to say, Hannah knows how to go, doop, doop.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's strange how people can hide behind a keyboard or phone and just say whatever. And it's like, would you say to that to somebody on, in person? Like if you saw somebody on the street and you didn't like their outfit, like, would you go up and say, I hate your clothes? Like,
Right.
no, why do people think that can do that otherwise,
Right. And I also think that, I mean, we all, our society suffers with this so much. And this is why I'm so, so very thankful that the internet was not around when I was a kid, because Lord knows I'd have been in a lot of trouble for things I put on there probably. But I think that when people do that, it's just their own insecurities because they feel
Mhm.
better about themselves when they point out, someone else's, they think someone else's flaws. But
Right.
a flaw for her, like that she thinks a flaw of yours, could be something that somebody else loves about you,
Oh,
right?
right.
Like, I mean, it's
Yeah,
because you're real. That's what people love about you, because you're real. You don't try and put on makeup and a bunch of fancy jewelry and stuff like that. You are you. And there's no like, oh, what's she like behind the camera? Because there's no doubt
I'm
in
exactly
my
the same.
opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
And my son, who has been a social media star in his life, and we won't get into all that. But anyway, he's a wonderful human. And he said to me, he helps us a lot. And he does actually copywriting. So when I'm going to post something, or I was going to write you a letter and ask you, I was like, look at this. He goes, Mom, I don't like this. This is horrible. And why are you writing this to her? You sent her a DM. And I was like, yeah. He goes, Mom, you can't just DM Instagram influencers like that and expect they're going to respond. I'm like, no, Chris, it's Biz. You don't understand. He's like, Mom, you can't do, he's always like treating me like I'm an idiot. Mom, you can't do that. And I was like, Chris, no, it's Biz. You don't
Yeah,
understand.
I'm different.
There's a long list of messages between us. It's not like we chat every day, but I definitely comment on stuff, and she always comments back. That doesn't mean she likes you, Mom. My kid's always crazy. And then when I told him you responded and that you were going to be on the show, he goes, "Oh wow, Mom!" And I was like,
Yeah.
now."
Watch me now.
So I think it's interesting. One of the questions I was going to ask you is if you ever get haters, because I don't think there's anything to hate about. Like when I watch,
No.
like you don't talk politics or anything. So
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of people will tell me, if you're losing weight, how come you still have a belly? Like, when are you going to use your belly fat? Um, or how come I've been on Weight Watchers so long and I haven't gotten to goal yet? Um, and I eat like a fourth grader because I don't eat a lot of vegetables. And it's like I had to figure out Weight Watchers how it worked for me instead of trying to copy somebody else. And when the program rewarded you for having vegetables, I was like making salads to eat next to my breakfast sandwich. And I was like, why am I doing that? Like, that's gross, like why am I trying to do it? And I had to switch my mindset for everything. And it's very interesting because I went to an influencer trip recently, and there was 3 male influencers there and the rest were women. The male ones hardly got any crap at all, and every one of us said we get something almost on a daily basis. It's
I believe
insane.
that.
And especially, like, I don't let my daughter answer questions on comments on Instagram, just because people will point out to let me know that she's overweight. Is she on Weight Watchers? What are you doing? Are you providing her lunch? Like, what is happening? And it's like she's 31 years old.
Right.
Like, she's a grown woman and she makes her own choices. And So it's that part drives me insane. Like, and then I also say to people, I mean, as much as I'm the same like in here and as I am on Instagram or everything like that, but my 4 minutes a day in stories is one of 1,440.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's like
Exactly.
and I always say to people, I was like, unless you have my telephone number, I was like, you don't personally know me.
Right.
And so you cannot judge anything about me because you don't really know me.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't.
That's not
So
your whole life.
exactly. Yeah, it's not my whole life. And not to say that uh I'm different just because I just talk about food and stuff like that, but I just feel that it has its place and that's what I like to talk about. And I love food. And in the last like 21 months since I changed my mindset, it's I enjoy telling people that they can still eat the things they like, obviously in moderation, because I was an all or nothing mentality. Like either like every January 1st, I would tell myself, all right, this is
Right.
it, like how the turning of a calendar in a year was going to
Oh
just
my God.
automatically change my
Yeah.
mind. I was going to, walk 10,000 steps, drink a gallon of water, work out 5 times a week, whatever it was. I'd have all these balls in the air, and maybe I could keep those up for a day, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then as soon as one ball dropped out of the ground, that's all I could look at is what dropped. And it didn't matter that I still had all the other balls up in the air. But then I looked at that, would consider myself a failure, and I would give up.
Right.
So the first thing I had to do was lose the timetable. My birthday's in March, and every January I would say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds by my birthday. It's going to be amazing. And every year I never did that, but I could have lost 11 pounds. But then I would say, oh, it's not working, so I may as well just stop it. So I've lost 40 pounds in 21 months, which is about 2 pounds a month, is what
That's
it
impressive.
is. Yeah. And
Congratulations. And I know
yeah.
that it's about you and your decisions in your life. And if anybody's and I heard you say about a week, within the last week, something about somebody because you're on that medication.
Mhm.
And I said, who the hell cares how she's doing it? You're not using that, what's that stuff called? The fin fin or
Ozempic.
something like that. Yeah, no, no,
Mhm.
I'm saying you're not using like fin or one of those horrible things that's like bad for your body. You're doing
Yeah.
something with your doctor and mind their own goddamn
Yeah.
business,
I know.
right?
And that's just the thing. It's like my sister and I are in the same dose. We've both been on it for the same amount of time. I actually think my sister's been on it 6 months longer than me. And so what it does for me is it helps me take less insulin for every meal. So I'm type 1, my sister's type 2. And it's made a difference because I used to take 1 unit of insulin for every 4 grams of carbs I ate. Now it's 1 to 10, which is huge. So maybe having less insulin in my body is also helping. But Ozempic also has never curbed my appetite. I can still eat all the things that I want. It doesn't prevent me from, turning my car into Dunkin' Donuts and getting an apple fritter. Ozempic is not getting me to the gym and swimming for an hour. It's all
Doesn't
those
pick you up and
things.
carry
And
you there.
then yeah, and when I just sent out my newsletter last week, I was like 40 pounds down, talked about the thing, talked about Ozempic.
Yeah.
I probably got 2 dozen messages replying to that saying, let's talk about the elephant in the room. It's the only reason you've lost weight is because of Ozempic. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And I
Yeah.
said, well, if that's the case, then how come my sister hasn't lost 40 pounds and we're
Right.
identical twins?
Well,
It's like,
yeah. And
right. So
guess what? There's no elephant in this room anymore, MFers.
yeah, and I've never not said it. And so somebody said that I had to do, when I did an Instagram post, that I needed to put a disclaimer that the reason I lost 40 pounds is because I was on Ozempic.
No.
And I
No.
was like, that has nothing to do with it. I said, I'm not on a high enough dose to even for weight loss. And even if I was, well, even if I looked up, if the zero point 0.5 units I take once a week, the average people in 56 weeks on a study lost 12 pounds. And
Right.
that's not a lot of weight, so you obviously have to do all the other things to make it work for you.
And you can see
Oh,
that you're putting in the work.
yes, absolutely. You get out there,
Yeah.
your exercises, you swim, you do it all. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't, I just, again, people are always going to be haters because they're jealous, but you keep doing you. That's my thought.
Okay, thanks.
Um, so, um, tell us about like what inspired you to start blogging and Instagram influencing. Did you start, I don't know this, did you start blogging first or did you
Oh
start
yeah.
doing Instagram posts? Okay, you
Oh
did blog
yeah.
first.
I started my blog in 2008, and actually it was kind of meant to be like an online diary, which I thought was going to be for my future grandkids. So I started when I was 40, and I just blogged Monday through Friday, and it was just like a recap of my day and sprinkled with recipes in between. And I did that for 10 years.
Oh
So from the
gosh.
time I was 40 to 50, I had, but I was never meant to be like, like I never met search engine optimized. Like I never thought, no one's going to Google my anything and find my recipes, because they were all just embedded into, like, I would say it was a great weekend, and then I'd have some recipes for some soup that I made or whatever like that. So, my daughter and I have been painstakingly going back to the over, I don't even know how many blog posts I have, 5,000, whatever it is, to make them search engine optimized. Because if I was making like Italian meatballs, my blog post title would be like, "You really need my balls in your mouth." And no one's gonna, well, they're gonna find something if they Google that, but they're not gonna
That's a
find.
that's a different search engine. That's why
Yeah,
I
that's a
love you.
different, they're not
I
going to find
love
my
you.
recipe for that. So that's what I had to realize is, so we've been going back. So we do monetize the blog. So that's another stream of income for us,
Yeah,
but it's a painstaking job. So just to go
yeah.
and so then when the pandemic happened, there was really nothing for me to like blog about, because I was like, it was boring. I was in my house. I mean, I
Yeah.
still did recipes and stuff like that, but then I just started putting all the recipes just on Instagram and not my blog. And so I think the last time, well, at least Hannah has at least 70 recipes that are only on Instagram, not on my blog, that we have to put on the blog because I don't own Instagram and I need a placeholder for them. So that's another thing that we do, is constantly updating and putting stuff on there. But yeah, so now fast forward, my daughter and her husband have been married 6 years. They don't want children. And my stepson and his wife have been married 10 years. They don't want children. So I was like, I guess my blog is just going to be for the world now. So,
Rose will send you hers anytime.
okay.
Yeah, I have three. You can have all three of them.
Oh, okay.
One's getting
Yeah.
ready to go to college. You don't want him. He's too nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's sweet and easy. The two girls are wide open. They are wide open.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty great. My youngest is 26 and she'll
Okay.
be 27 in February. And then so my kids are much older. So so what I've always been curious about this with you because I know you worked for a law firm before you quit to do your full-time blogging, which I was so happy for you and you're able to do that. I'm like, oh, I envy her. But I feel like as we've started doing this podcast, and Rose carries the whole thing on her shoulders, as she'll tell you always. And she does carry about 90% of it on her shoulders, but it's way more work than going to work and working a regular 9 to 5 job. And so what was your worst job that you've ever had and your favorite job that you ever had before blogging?
Before blogging, I guess my favorite job would have been, worked at the chopping block. So I had an epiphany, and well, I was at a law firm, and the one boss that I worked for, she had gone through 22 secretaries before me, and I was with her for 11 years. And she said it was all because of those people just couldn't. And I was like, it's all because of you. Like, she was narcissistic. It was all about her, and it was a crazy situation. And so my husband passed away in 2014, and then in 2016 I was just sitting at my desk and I was just looking at my boss, and I just like, I can't do this anymore. And I walked right in and I said, I'm quitting. And she's like, what? And I said, yeah, I'm giving my 2 weeks notice. And I was like, you know what? I go, this is an at-will state in Illinois. I said, I'm not obligated to give you 2 weeks notice. And I go, I'm just going to get my stuff and leave. So we had a full kitchen at that firm. It took me, my whole like trunk was full of like panini makers, my crock pot, like pans, like all this stuff. And I just left, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was like, whatever it is, I'm just not doing law anymore. Well, then I got a job at the Chopping Block, which is a recreational cooking school in Chicago. And I was a chef assistant, and it was the best job. Unfortunately, the pay was $12 an hour, I want to
Yeah.
say, and I realized that all these other people that worked there had other income streams coming in.
Yeah.
So it was a great summer. I loved working there. And then I finally was like, I got to go back to the law. And so that's when had my last job. So, but in between there is when I met my manager from Instagram, and she just found me on Instagram, and she told her husband, she's like, I think this lady can be like an influencer. And so she just kind of followed me and stuff. And she lived in Chicago at the time. And I just remember it was 2018. And all I wanted was 10,000 followers, because then I could have the swipe up to have people. Because even if I had the link in bio, click the picture, that takes you to the recipe, all this stuff, that was way too many steps. And I remember doing this huge copy job at work, and I was like, this stinks. And I was like, and then I looked down at my phone, it was like 9,999 followers. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like, am I going to hit 10,000 today? And I'm like doing this copy job. I kept refreshing my phone. And finally I waited till I was like 10,050. And I was like, oh my God, I ran to my boss and I was like, I just got 10,000 followers on Instagram. He's like, what is that? And I was like, I need to go find an associate. So I just ran down the hall, found Tom. I was like, Tom, he was like, high five.
Oh, that
And
had to be so
so
exciting.
that's about the time when my skinny pizza dough I wrote in 2017,
Oh,
and I loved
yeah.
it, and I was telling everybody about it forever. And it didn't start taking off until October of 2018. And then people started making it, tagging me. And I think that the more people were talking about me horizontally is how I grew vertically. And then I just got bigger and bigger. And that's when my manager's like, well, let's just test you out on doing some influencing stuff. And at the time, I didn't even know what that meant. I was like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Like, I don't even know. But to give you an example, like, she would text me and she's like, do you want to make $500 really quick? And I'm like, absolutely. And she goes, don't download this app. It was called Toast app. And it was like where you could order food.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like,
Yeah, we have it here.
yeah. And she's like, and just do a 4-story set on Instagram using the app. And then just like tag them, told me everything I had to do. So I just got out of my desk and got out of my office, walking down the street. And I was like, I love having, an hour for lunch. So,
Yeah.
but what I hate is waiting for my food, because that's all my time and I'd rather just enjoy my hour. So I said, I'm going to get some fresh air. So I did a screenshot of like how I downloaded the app, what I ordered, walked into, got us in the grocery store. My food was there. I came back, sat at my lunch. I said, now I've got 50 minutes that I can enjoy to eat my food and, go on Instagram or do whatever.
Wow.
And then like 5 minutes later, there's $500 in my bank. So I was just like, oh, okay, that's how that works. So that was a simplified version of it, but now it's grown. So anytime a brand reaches out to me or they have a brand, they negotiate the contract. So here's another example. So right before I hired Erica, Libre, which is this is a Dexcom, but Libre
Yep.
is a continuous glucose monitor. And they asked if they could do a commercial, could I do a commercial for them? And I was like, sure. And they said, it's a day and a half of filming. We'll put you up downtown, and we're filming at an Airbnb in Bucktown, and we'll give you $1,500. And I was like, oh my God, $1,500? I'll take 2 days off of work. Like, this is amazing. I had no idea what a big production was. The clients flew in from California. Like, the film crew was from Philadelphia. The marketing department was like, I walk into this Airbnb and like, I'm reading this thing, and it says, the talent's going to get to the house at like 9 a.m. And I was like, am I the talent? Like, maybe I am. And so I just text this guy who turned out to be the executive producer. I didn't even know. And I was like, hey, Pete, I'm like, it looks like I'm going to get there. You want me there at 9? I said, I'll just take a Uber and I'll meet you guys there. And he's like, we have a car service for you. And I was like,
wow.
and a handler. And I was like, what is that? And a handler, because I'm diabetic, it was a diabetes commercial. She was with me all the time, making sure I was fed, hungry, did I need to take a break, all that stuff. And I was like, that's crazy. So maybe like 2 months after that, when I hired Erica and I told her about that, and she goes, I would have asked for at least $10,000 for that. I was like, oh, noted. Okay, good to know.
Wow.
So that was in 2019 that I filmed that. And then in 2020, they wanted to, and they had the rights to it till the end of the year. And then in 2020, they said, we still want the rights in 2021. And Erica goes, that's fine. That's $1,000 a month. And they sent me a check for $12,000, which I was like, oh, okay. And that happened 2 years in a row. So so stuff like that, like I didn't know the
Amazing.
back end of it. Like I just had no idea. So now we have all of the brands that we do, and once they negotiate the contract, tell me to sign it, I sign it, and then I do the deliverables. I tell them when it's done, they invoice, they take 15% off the top, and then we get everything else.
That's amazing. That is so.
I
I had
didn't know
somebody
that's how it
said,
worked.
yeah,
Mhm.
I had no idea. And I said, if somebody said to me, "How do you want to earn $500?" I'm like, okay, do I take off my clothes? That's what
Yeah,
I would have
do
said.
you want feet pics?
Yeah,
What
what
are
do
we
you want?
doing?
What do you want? What do you But that's so awesome. I mean, it's just kind of like, I feel like then you kind of almost stumbled into it. You're doing all that hard work. And, even your blog, if you're not going to have grandkids, your blog of that gift to just humans, like just the world, I think is such a great thing because, everybody has their ups and downs. And I think that it voicing those is important because a lot of people on social media are very much about, everything's perfect. It's the Christmas card photo, right?
Oh
And
my
I
God.
love that, your refrigerator's open and you're like, damn it,
Yeah. Oh, I
you
know.
know?
Well, I just had this light fixed here, but
Uh-huh.
before that, it was just a fan that was awful, and I've hated it since the second I've been here 22 years. But I just the day I was like, I got to get rid of it. And so, but like if I had it like doing a story and the angle was like there, and it was I could never get it clean because it's just dust, and it's like in the kitchen and it
Yeah.
gets hot, and it was just a fucking nightmare. Sorry.
Please.
So I gotta have my P's and Q's. Um,
No, you don't have to be on
so
your P's and
anyway,
Q's with
but
us. We love the F word.
okay, so people would say to me, like, Biz, clean your fan. Like, why can't you just clean your fan? I was like, it's none of your business. Like, if I don't want to clean it, I'm not going to clean it. Do you want to come over to my house and clean it? Because if
Yeah.
you clean it, that'd be great.
No, but
Um,
Rose and I would have replaced it for you. We're very big do-it-yourself people.
oh, I wish I was.
When I was
See, I like starting things without knowing. Like before in this office space, there was like carpet, and this is probably going like 5 years ago when Hannah and Jacob were still living here, and they came home, and like I like just walked in here. I was like, I'm getting rid of this carpet, and I just took like a night and just started throwing the carpet down, and they pull in, and Hannah's like, oh my God, my mom's pulling off the carpet, like and she has no idea the plan, but that kind of forces me to like do something. Unbeknownst to me, this house is 100 years old. There was 11 layers of linoleum underneath the carpet in every
11.
shade of every, like,
Oh
imagine
no.
like every color that was in the 70s, browns, orange, yellows, pastel green, like just horrible. And it ended up being like the worst project ever. I ended up having to hire somebody to like, because I was like, there's no way I can finish this project on my own. And now I've got hardwood floor in here, so it's fine.
To
But
do it. Yeah, that's
yeah, that's my do it stuff. I said, all right, and then this thing right here, I don't know if you can see it. It's like kind of like a countertop, and the whole kitchen's awful. But there's times where I'm like, if I like press really hard on here and break this, like I'll have to do something about
Yeah.
it. And Hannah's like, don't do that. And I was like, I'm not. I said, I want to, but I'm not.
do one of those Kathy Bates things from Fried Green Tomatoes. Just take the sledgehammer and take it out.
Exactly. Just take it out.
I,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say that I started following like one Instagram influencer, one of the rich ones whose like house is perfect, and then they tell you like to follow these other ones to win some prize, and then you end up
Yes.
following. I had like 20 on my account at some point, and every time I scroll through them, they made me feel bad because
Yeah.
their houses are perfect. They have all these nice clothes. I find myself trying to keep up with the Joneses,
Yeah.
And I was like, why am I doing this? And so I unfollowed every single one of them, kept you, of course, because you don't make me feel bad about myself. You make me feel like positive and like you're doing something good with your life, and you're real.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I like it. I feel empowered when I watch your stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Thank you.
You really do have a way of, I don't know. And your grandpups, oh my God. So I have grandpups and I have a pup, and And I love the snuggles, the pups. It's just the best. It's
I know
every
people are like, Biz, just get a dog. And I was like, it's a lot of work. I said, I like it. It is like having grandkids because you can take them and you'd be like, bye, and just bring them back.
So I just want to wrap up. We didn't do any of the questions, but that's totally fine. I love talking to you, but I want to wrap up and tell you that before we wrap up, I have always made pizza. I've made pizza forever. My Nana, my grandmother, who was from Italy, she came over here when she was 21 through Ellis Island. Her name's on the wall. She's amazing. She used to make pizza in a sheet pan, like
Oh
just
yeah.
and just all she put on it was sauce and Parmesan cheese and onion, Vidalia onion. That was it.
Oh,
But so I always loved homemade pizza. And so my sisters and I we always make homemade pizza. We've done it for years and years. But when we got your recipe, obviously we were doing Weight Watchers and I was like so excited. So I use your crust. But then when I started watching what you were putting on pizza, and I'm like, this is brilliant. It's like clean out the fridge day. So I would like
mhm.
one time I made a pizza and I had leftover corned beef and cabbage.
Oh
And
yeah.
I put the corned beef, the cabbage, the potatoes, everything. I just put olive oil and garlic base and just a teeny bit of mozzarella. And it was, I used Skinny Taste. Skinny Taste was my first like food
Yeah.
blogger I started
Love
following.
Gina. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love her. And I'm from Long Island. So when she shows her pictures of the sound and stuff, it just brings me back a lot of memories. But I started doing stuff like that, and people are like, "What is on your pizza?" And I used to do a little bit of Instagram. I used to do my cooking on. I used to do on in like stories, and it just became too much work for me. And then we started the podcast. But people are like, "What the hell is on your pizza?" And I'm like, "No, I'm telling you, just go in your fridge and
Whatever it
look what you
is.
have and throw it on there. It's just like a tool to get it to your mouth again."
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll do unusual, like making calzones, same thing. It's like I'll just take a
Yes,
bunch of stuff and put the dough over it, just put it in there, and you're good to go.
you're amazing. You are amazing.
So I have one more question I want to ask before we
Sure.
wrap it up. Is that okay?
Of course.
No, no,
So so Lynn and I were both single parents. She had,
single young parents.
yes.
Yeah.
She had teenagers, which sounds awful. But I was a single parent until my son was 7. And so I have like a special connection to him. He's 17 now, but we have a special connection because it was just the two of us and I was young. And so we kind of grew up together. And seeing you work with Hannah and just seeing what that relationship is like, I was just wondering like what is that like working with your daughter, who also seems to be like one of your best friends?
Oh my
What's
gosh.
that been
Yeah.
like for you?
It's been amazing. And the whole, I always, I never knew when I would get to the point where I'd be able to afford to hire somebody, but I was so busy and it's so hard just to keep up with all the social media platforms, the videoing, the editing, the writing, the, grocery shopping, like it's a lot. And so sometimes people are like, oh, it must be nice to have, just to cook all day, and
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, it's a lot of work. And when you have to think, you have to storyboard, okay, like I'm doing a video, what do I need to capture? Like all this stuff. And it was a lot. And so I went to a trip to Yellowstone where an influencers
That's
plus one, because it's like a trova trip. So if you have people, you get people to join your trip and then your trip is free with plus a person and you make a little bit of money on the side. That's beside the point. But this other person was on this trip, different group, but he had his videographer and his employee as his plus one. And I was like, how did you know like when it was time? And he's like, I wish I would have done it like a year ago. And I was like, okay, that's all I need to know. And I didn't even know how it was going to work. And so I got back from my trip and at like 9 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday, I sent Hannah a video message and I was like, dear Hannah, I go, would you like to work with me full time? I was like, we can go to Office Max and we can touch pens and we can make videos. And I don't know what the hell we're going to do or how we're going to do it. I said, but I'll match your salary and let's just see what happens. And I said, I know you hate your job and everything. She was in mortgage foreclosure. And
oh
was
God,
working like
that's
from
hard.
7 a.m. till 7 p.m. And
Oh, wow.
during the pandemic, none of the employees wanted to work. It was just a nightmare for her. And she was a manager. Doesn't matter. I saw that she read it at like 9:05 and then crickets all day.
Oh,
And I was
no.
like, did I offend her? I was like, I don't think so. She told me she hates her job. So then I waited till like 8 o'clock at night and still no response. And so I text her husband. I was like, hey, Jacob, I was like, is Hannah mad at me or anything? He's like, no, we're watching a movie. I was like, can you have her look at her phone? And she goes, oh yeah, my mom sent me a message. I forgot. So
Oh.
because she's not supposed to have phones at work, and so it was a video, so she couldn't watch it. And so then like 5 minutes later, she texted me. She's like, are you kidding me right now? I was like, no. And she's like, are you sure? And I was like, I've never been sure of anything in my whole life. And she's like, all right. So the next day she told her boss, she's like, I have this other opportunity I might be taking. And of course, then they jumped through hoops and they were going to give her like an extra couple $1,000s and 2 extra PTO days and stuff like that. And she gave notice on I think it was October 1st of last year. And then I went to Greece on another trip for like 10 days. So I gave her the first 10 days off paid. And I was like, that's your first order of business. I said, because I don't really know what we're going to do. And we've just kind of figured it out. And we basically have, I wonder if, I don't, let me see if I have it here. Oh, it's not up there anymore. But we basically have a schedule, a checklist, because she's super type A and I'm not.
I love her. I love her organization.
Yes. So it's been a good balance for us working together because I'm letting her loosen up a little bit about, like she gets hung up if we have like 3 or 4 YouTube videos that still need editing or something like that. I was like, no, we have like not even 7,000 followers on YouTube. No one's like waiting with bated breath for the next video. Like whenever it goes up is fine. And then like maybe like the first week she worked with me, she had a problem with her cell phone and she's like, I got to go to the Apple store. I was like, that's fine, go ahead. And so she's like, it's taking me she's like, it's like an hour and a half lunch. I was like, so what? Like, who cares? And then later on that night, she was like texting me about something. I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm just making up for my lunch because I took a long lunch.
Oh
and I
my
was
gosh.
like, that is not how we work here. That's corporate life. That's why we left that stuff behind.
Yeah,
So
it's so hard to get out of that once you've been in that.
It is, yes.
Because I worked in a call center and I was like, all right, I took 5 minutes. I'll work 5 minutes extra. And when I started my job now, which anyway, my boss was like, it's okay. I trust you. And I was like, whoa, yeah, it's
right. Yeah, exactly. So it's taken her a while to get used to. I joke that our LLC is called Four Boobs in a Business LLC, and so I always joke, I'm like, that's not how Four Boobs in a Business LLC works. We don't play those games. So just and just the fact that like she's got the next 3 days off because Halloween is her jam, and I was like, take 3 days off. Who cares? It's like I can keep the ship running. Obviously it's easier when you're here. But yeah, it's been an amazing balance, and we've grown so much, not only just together. Like, I mean, she's just so much fun, and we just laugh pretty much all day long.
That's awesome.
And I don't know if you saw the compilation. I'll send you a link. She did a compilation of bloopers for the year, and we posted it on her 1-year anniversary. Well, on Halloween last year, it was gonna be a joke because I love Halloween too, so does she.
Oh, yeah.
But I was gonna be dressed up, and then she, like, off camera, she was gonna say, I thought you were joking when you said we had to dress up for work. And I was like, no, it's dressing for Halloween is mandatory. It's in the employee manual that hasn't been finished, like something like that. But last year on Halloween, there was a huge Instagram glitch, and my management team said, don't go on Instagram at all today, because like people were losing like half their followers. It was just a glitch. It came back. So we never even did any of those, but we filmed 3 YouTube videos of cooking videos in costume.
Oh, that's so funny.
And we don't like mention anything. Like, I'm in a clown outfit. It's hysterical. I'll send you a link so you guys can see it.
Please do. Yeah. There is something about, Rose forgot that my son and I've been married twice. My son and I were together.
Oh, that's right.
For a long time before I met my second husband. And so he was, so we definitely, as Rose said, there's definitely that bond. There's definitely that bond because you just, you go through a lot, and you just, it's like, I feel like he and I kind of grew, the way that Rose and I talked about it, we grew up together.
Oh, same. Yeah, because I was 23 when I had Hannah. So, and again, I was like, it's going to work out, one way or the other. And it was interesting because when I didn't tell anybody, well, I told the father when I was pregnant, and he's like, is it mine? I was like, yeah, it's yours. So he thought about it and
Absolutely.
didn't reply back for months. And I was like, it's fine. And I was like, I was even thinking like, should I give her up for adoption? Give it. I didn't even know it was a girl. I was like, should I give it up for adoption or anything? And then I finally told my parents when I was 8 months pregnant. I
Oh, wow.
did not, we lived like 2 blocks away, but it was like in the winter and I just like wore big clothes, whatever. And so after they got over the initial shock, then they're just like, well, let's just go to a support group for women who'd given up their kids up for adoption. And so we did. And the girl sitting next to me was 25, but her son was already 10 and she only got a picture on his birthday every year. But she was like, my parents were going to kick me out. And like these girls had horror stories about how their family was treating them. And basically the gist of it is that they said, if I had 1/10 of the support your parents are giving you, I'd still have my baby. And I was like, that's it. So we got in the car. I was like, I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
So
I,
before the internet and everything. So my mom just wrote a letter to family and said, Biz is having a baby and, she's not getting married and stuff like that. And it was fine. And my dad was Hannah. I mean, my dad passed away when Hannah was 6. And so I ended up moving in with my parents for 5 years. And I'm happy that that happened because Hannah's really the only one that has memories of my dad because she's the oldest grandchild and
Oh, yeah.
no other grandchild was close. So she's the only one that has memories of that. So I'm really happy that happened. But yeah, it's like you grow up and it's like I said, everything is figure outable. And I think that, and if we want to like talk about like taking the leap of doing something out of your comfort zone is you just never know what's going to be on the other side. And I think
right.
so many people like hesitate to do things because like the what ifs,
Yeah.
like how am I going
Yeah.
to pay for health insurance? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do?
Yeah.
Well, you figure it out,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I was 52 when I quit, and I was like, the worst case scenario was that I get another job. Like it's not the be all end all. Like if this didn't work out, that there was, it was going to be okay.
Right.
And
Right.
my expenses are super low. My mortgage is almost paid off, and it's just so a lot of things. And I was like, really, all I need is like $2,500 a month to survive. So I was like, if I
Yeah. You
can
could do
make
that.
just that, yeah, then I'm golden. So and now I can do like one thing and get paid $2,500, and it's
Yeah.
just it's insane. So
That's
it is all
amazing.
about sales too. So if you see me talking about the same brands over and over again, it's because I produce results. So basically, whatever I get paid is how much they want in sales.
Uh-huh.
So if I don't make that sales quota, then that's like a one and done, and then they
Oh,
don't
wow.
pay
Oh
again. So that's
wow.
another
Yeah.
way.
It's funny because there's, the Instagram, the influencer I follow, anytime the people I like the most, anytime they post a link, I click on it. I don't care if it's anything I'm interested in or not. I'm like,
Yeah.
because they're getting paid. And I like on Amazon, like if there's something on Amazon, I don't really, I do buy from Amazon. I try not to as much, but if it's one of my influencers has it, oh man, I'm all about it. Do you follow Veronica? Um, her last name begins with an F. She's a full figured woman and she has the cutest outfits and she'll get a skinny girl outfit and she'll try it on and she'll be like, I'm gonna change this to a and she talks about her belly. She had kids and her body never bounced back. And she's a lot like you, very real, but she wears a lot of makeup and she's really trendy, cute dressing, like she's adorable. Not but she's like you
Yeah.
in her like realness.
Mhm.
And so whenever she has a wig, I'm like, click, click, whether or not I'm gonna buy it or not, I don't even care. But that's how I like to
Yeah.
it's like my little like pat on the back for them,
Oh
like
yeah,
just
Yeah.
absolutely. And I tell people all the time, I was like, even like on sponsored posts, if you just like it and save it, that that's great engagement for me. And
Oh,
then I can
really?
provide that analytics to the client because usually um after the stories elapse 24 hours is then we have to go back and pull all our analytics and see how many clicks did people do, how many likes, how many shares, how many of all that stuff. And so that's important too. But sometimes people see ad or sponsored and they're just like next kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so if it's important to me and the brand, I will like boost it. And so I'll be like, this is like I had for Safe and Fair, one of the brands that I was working for, I did a post and it just went nowhere. It went to had like 6,000 views and it just went and it just was crazy. So then the next day I was like, hey, if you just leave an emoji on that one, I'll put you in a running to get signed copies of my cookbooks. And then all of a sudden, there's like
I
2,000 comments and stuff. And then the brand looks at that and it's like, oh my gosh, how did you get that great engagement? And it's like, I had to resort to that, so there's ways around it. But obviously I don't want to like, give away all my cookbooks because I still have to pay for them myself.
Oh yeah.
Although at a discount. So there's the skinny pizza dough
I cannot
one.
believe how much different you look. That is crazy.
Oh my God. Isn't that crazy? And that's from just 2 years ago.
I can't even.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So, every time I see you, I'm like, oh my God, she looks great. I think to myself, but I don't even, it's like, I don't even remember you looking like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's weird. Like, I have a video on our YouTube channel that's 3 years old, how to make crunchy tacos. Cause I was like, I got a YouTube video and it's so crazy how different I was at that one. So yeah, I didn't even know if you knew this. So, the Cooking for One cookbook, has a QR code so that no matter when the Weight Watcher plan changes, it's still good. So I don't work with Weight Watchers, so I couldn't put points in here. And obviously they're going to change every 2 years anyway.
Right.
So as long as you have a paid Weight Watcher membership, you can QR code this. It'll open up your Weight Watcher app and it'll track it from the cookbook to your.
That is awesome. We will definitely, when we're doing the ads, doing the social media posts and stuff for this episode, we'll add links to your books and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
You have send us whatever the best link is for them to buy it? I don't know if it's
Amazon.
Okay.
I'll send you the links.
Okay. All right, that would be awesome. But I know we promised you an hour. It's been an hour and 20, but I could talk to you all day long.
That went by really fast.
I know.
Wow.
And again, the first time I've ever initiated a Zoom meeting. So if I look distracted in the middle, it was because it's like you have 10 minutes left in your meeting.
I saw that.
I was going to show you. And I'm like, oh God. I was trying, I'm getting my credit card out, I'm trying to pay for it.
Oh my gosh.
So funny enough, I'm actually in our studio. We have a studio in my sister's basement. My sister that had a studio in it. The people that owned the house before her were musicians. So I'm in our studio right now because I got home today from visiting my dad he lives up in near Winchester, Virginia. Rose and I live in Charlottesville. We know you visit Virginia. So next time you go to Richmond, you'll have to let us know. We'll meet you there. My daughter lives in Richmond. Oh, nice. So because you usually go to the northern neck, right?
Yeah, Tappahannock.
Yeah. So I got home from my dad's with about an hour to spare. Take my shower, get dressed, and my internet's not working. My router's dead. No lights on it, nothing. So I had to shut. I was like, oh my God, Reese, I had to run over to my sister's, which is a mile away, run down to the basement. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, it all worked out.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much, Biz. It was a pleasure talking to you, and we wish you the absolute best. And we will continue to talk about you on our podcast in only good ways. But when you do listen, if you do listen, we do get inappropriate sometimes, but I think you can handle that.
I can. Yeah, it's all good.
I mean, nothing really dirty, just bad language. So
yeah, exactly.
So. All right. Well, thank you again so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for letting us do this. We really, it means a lot to us.
No problem.
Take care.
All right. Bye, guys.